Hey, watching Music Talk, and we're here on Gurten after a great concert of Frank Turner. Hey.
Hi, how you doing?
How did you feel on the stage today?
Really good. I think we had a really good time. I mean, I'm not the right person to answer that question. You know, you should tell me how it went, but I thought it went good.
Well, I think when you're comfortable on stage, then people in front of stage are good too.
Well, it was good. I mean, one of the things I mentioned on stage was that the last time we played here, we were doing this kind of silly game of having an international dance competition to figure out who were the best dancers, and actually Gurtenfest won Switzerland. So I was excited to be back here again because I knew the people here know how to dance.
Did you bring an award or something?
Huh?
Did you bring an award or something?
You know, I should have done, and I didn't. Now I feel bad.
Doesn't matter. I saw that you have a corded microphone. This is that when you jump in the audience that they can pull you back?
Yeah, my guitar tech calls it fishing, because he stands there like this, like with a line, and he fishes for me, fishes for singers in the audience.
That's good. We had word that there was a proposal during your concert.
I just heard this as well. My friend John just told me, and I didn't know about it until just now, but that's very cool if it did happen.
That's cool. Does stuff like that happen a lot?
It has happened before, yeah. I mean, there was a time in my life when sometimes I would let people do proposal stuff on stage, but one time that happened and it went badly. Like, this guy got up and gave this really big speech about his girl, and she said, "We need to talk about it." And that's a no, you know what I mean? That's a fucking no. So that wasn't great. So we don't do it on stage anymore. But I think it's really lovely if people do that at a show.
And do you also get requests from fans that they say, "Hey, we would like to invite you to the wedding, but please bring your guitar," or something?
Yeah, I get that quite a lot. I mean, I basically don't really have any time off from what I do anyway. You know, I mean, this year I've had probably 8 days at home, I guess, and with that time I want to kind of see my girlfriend and see my mom, and you know, just kind of live in my house for a bit.
8 days at home? I think my wife is very flexible, but you 8 days at home?
Yeah, well, my girlfriend is with us today actually. She comes on tour with us sometimes to hang out, but like, she's busy doing her thing too. But I mean, yeah, we work hard.
You said gig 1927?
Yes, yeah.
I know another guy who tours and plays a lot like that, or used to play, and it's Butch Walker, your producer.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit how this happened.
Well, it's funny, like, I was a fan of Butch's music and I genuinely didn't know that he was a producer. And I was having a real problem with my last album finding the right producer. I kept like nearly making it with one person, and then it was a bad idea. And this went on for a time, and then I was just listening to albums that I like, and I listened to that record, The Spade, that he made in 2011. I loved it, and looked up who produced it, and it said Butch Walker produced it, and I was like, I wonder if he would produce anyone else. And I mentioned it to my record label, and they said, Butch Walker, like the guy who does like Pink and Taylor Swift and stuff. And I said, what? And it was a lot of confusion, and in the end I just got hold of him personally because we have some mutual friends, and I gave him a shout, and we got on very, very well straight away.
That's how you get him, with other people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was one of those things where, like, when we met, we felt like we've been friends for a long time.
When you know that he's a producer, actually, you know, everybody knows him somewhere and from some place.
I mean, he's definitely. I felt like I mean, I've produced 2 albums in my life, but you know, and he's obviously one of the greats on that. But like, I feel like we have quite a lot in common in terms of the path of our career, and you know, moving from one type of music to another and all that kind of thing.
And when you guys met up, how did you connect? How did you decide what direction you go? Well,
so I had this idea about how I wanted to make the album, and I had this really long kind of speech and argument prepared and suggestions and all this kind of stuff. And we met up to talk about it, and the label had flown me to Chicago to meet him to talk about albums for 2 days. And we sat down in a bar, and I said, let's talk about production, and he said, everything you ever need to know about production and songwriting is in the first 2 Weezer albums. And I said, that's the end of this conversation, because I think the same thing. And we literally, and then we just went and got pissed. So it was a good time, but like, we're on the same page straight away.
That's normally what happens. The red wine and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm a white wine fan myself, but yeah.
Did he have some white wine because he?
No, I think he was drinking whiskey.
Whiskey, yeah.
Yeah, he's a whiskey man.
And did he take you on a bike or something?
No, he didn't take me on a bike, but we went around. We hung out in Chicago for we had a good evening actually. Actually, I seem to remember we ran into Frightened Rabbit. Do you know the band Frightened Rabbit? Yeah, they were playing in Chicago that night, which we only just found out like that night. So I called Scott and we went down and saw the show.
So what takes you on the road? You said almost 2,000 gigs. Why you're out all the time?
Because it's the one thing I know how to do. I mean, I love it. And it's how I make my living, and it's my art. I'm an entertainer by trade and by calling. But mainly, I mean, a really big part of it for me is it's the one thing where when I'm on stage, I feel like I'm in the right place and I know what I'm doing, you know? And I never feel like that anywhere else.
Yeah. And do you... I mean, when you see old Bon Jovi said, "I've seen a million faces and rocked them all." What do you recollect from your tours?
I'm not sure about rocking a million faces yet, but I mean, I've got a reasonably good memory for shows. Actually, that's funny. That used to be very true. Like, I used to freak people out by remembering small details about shows that were like 8 years ago. In the last couple of years, I think it's a combination of me having done too many shows, getting older, and kind of drinking too much wine. But like, I'm not as good as I used to be. But I mean, there was a point in time where you could literally pull. I have a list of all the shows I've done on my website, and so you could pull just pretty much any show off that list, and I could tell you something about it.
And this is like, do you keep a journal, maybe for a second book?
No, you know, the book wasn't written from journals. It was just written from memories. I don't really keep a journal of any kind. I mean, actually, to be honest, my list of shows that I've done on my website is kind of my journal, you know, or at least it's the basic outline of how I tell where I was and what I did.
So you wrote a book because you're not busy enough?
I wrote a book. Somebody suggested, the publishing company asked me if I would be interested in writing a book, and I said no initially because I don't like it when people who are like, you know, in their mid-30s write an autobiography. That's kind of dumb, right? It's like, you know, the footballer, my story, and it's like, fuck off, man. No one knows anything in their 30. But we talked about stuff like the Henry Rollins tour diaries and stuff like that. And it just seemed like it would be an interesting thing to talk about. So I said yes. Well, I tried writing a couple of chapters and it felt good for everyone. So.
Did you do an audiobook version?
I did. It was really boring. Yeah, you have to just sit in a room for like 4 days and read out the words that you wrote. And I kind of realized that I don't like my prose very much while I was doing it.
But I can imagine that the fans like when it's original read by.
Yeah. I mean, I think we briefly discussed like who else would read the audiobook, and it was like, that's stupid. Like, it had to be me.
Yeah. Great. Well, it was nice to have you here again. What will you remember from today?
I think that I'll remember the rain clearing up and just seeing this beautiful view, which I've seen before, but it's really wonderful to see. Like, it's beautiful in this country. You're lucky.
Super. It was nice to have you back, and come back again.
We will.
And say hi to Butch when you see him.
I will. I'll see him.
Bye. That's it with Music Talk with Frank Turner, and we are coming back with more. See you then.